Okay, so now that we're done drafting, we're going to cover the turn guide for the game. If you look on the back of your instruction book, we have the standard turn sequence quick guide. Inside of the book, you're going to find the in-depth guide. In order to get started, remember that we've taken our lead pet and we've put him here in the front line. The opponent will have done the same. This pet is face down. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a d20, one for each side of the table. Each player will roll to see who goes first. In this case, it looks like player 2 is going to go first, but we're going to pretend that player 1 went first, because I'm on this side. You're going to take each of these pets and you're going to flip them over. And of course, after we flip them over, you're going to make sure that you give them their life cards. You also want to make sure that they have the appropriate life amount. So take your counter, make sure that you set the health at the right levels. $180 for Akrab and $150 for Elyth. And then we're going to go to the draw step. So what's going to happen is you're going to draw your opening hand. You're going to draw 6 cards. You want to make sure at least one of these is a pet. If you do not have a pet, you're allowed to mulligan as many times as you like until you get a new hand that has a pet, but you must reveal the hand to your opponent each time so that they see that you actually did not draw a pet. Don't be a cheater. Going back to our standard turn sequence quick guide here, the first thing we're going to do is draw a card. The very, very first turn of the game, the player who goes first does not draw a card, but from here on out for the rest of the game, you will always draw a card as the very first thing that you do when you start the game. So that's going to be 1. Then we're going to look here and we see 2. 2 is play a pet. Now you must do all of these steps in order. When you get down to step 3, we're going to look at the primary step. Step 3 has a lot of little sub-steps inside of it. You can do those in any order, but it always has to follow step 2, which is play a pet. I've got Thunderhoof here in my hand, so I'm going to play Thunderhoof. I'm going to set his HP to 120. Alright, now after this I've completed step 1 and I've completed step 2, so we're going to go to step 3. Primary step. Looking at your rulebook here, you'll see that we have Battle, Unique, Switch, Elyth, Runes, and Items. As I stated before, these can be done in any order. They do not have to be done. The only one that is mandatory is Battle. Every turn both players must battle. I'm not going to elect to go to battle right away. I'm going to look through here and see if there's anything else that I want to do. As you can see, I've left my hand face up, and I'm going to look through these other options and see what I have. Since the battle's just getting started, I don't want to switch right away. But if I did, what you're going to do is you're going to take the pets, and you're going to swap an existing pet from one row with another pet. You can only ever switch one row at a time. If you had a pet here and a pet here, you would not be able to switch that far. It must always be row to row to row. So let's say that I did switch. Now I've got Thunderhoof in the front. I'm going to look through my hand and say, is there anything I want to do? And then I see, oh, well here on option B, I have an ability to play a pet's unique. When I see a unique, it says motivate a single pet to use its unique ability. I remember that unique abilities can only be used on my turn, and they cannot be used during battle. Reading Thunderhoof here, he has Chain Lightning for 5. 30 lightning damage to target pet, 20 lightning damage to an adjacent pet, and 10 lightning damage to a pet adjacent to the second target. Even though my opponent only has one pet on the board, this is an extra special attack that he can do. It's his unique power and it's going to deal damage. So I'm going to elect to use this unique power now before I go to battle. This is going to reduce Elyth's HP down to 120. Now that I've softened him up a little bit, I decide I'm going to look through my hand and see if there's any rune cards I want to use. So I've got a card here called Quick Thinking. It says, draw 2 cards from your resource pile. Choose 1 card from your hand and put it into your spent pile. Remove this card from the game. Alright, so I picked up Taros, and I decided to put away Evasion Stone. Alright, so after this, I've still got 5 cards in my hand, but I can't use uniques anymore because I'm only allowed to use 1 during my turn. So I look and see, is there anything else I want to do? Well, I have another rune card in my hand here, Elyth. This one says, prevent the next 30 damage in any statuses target pet would receive this turn. Draw a card. So looking at this one looks like it would be pretty useful inside of battle. My opponent doesn't know that I have it, so I decide I want to hold this card. I see here that I have an Elyth stone called Prismatic Power Stone. I'd really like to play this one because it gives my pet 30 health, 10 speed, 1 hit, 1 miss, and 10 damage. Unfortunately for me, that card cannot be played on one of my pets unless the pet has half health or less, so I'm going to have to wait to play that one. But if it didn't have that stipulation on it, I could play it now. And then looking through here, I said, here I have an item. So I look here and I've got items listed as one of my options. I'm definitely going to use this one. I'm going to play Healing Potion. You can play it anywhere into the arena. It doesn't matter what row it goes into. It doesn't technically go into any row. It comes into play with 4 uses, so I put the 4 counters on it. After this, if you remember, you cannot skip battle. So now I must go to battle. So I'm going to take Thunderhoof, and I'm going to choose him as my battler. My opponent is going to say, well, the only one I have is Elyth. So now they're going to enter battle with each other. Battle always occurs across these 2 lines, the front line. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later on when we get into the battling section. After this, we're going to say that I check their speed, 120, 110. Thunderhoof is going to go first. I rolled a 20, so that's definitely a hit, and that's actually a critical hit. So that's going to be 50 plus 20 damage, and if I rolled 14 or more on the pet, I stun the pet. So he actually is going to take 70 damage, and poor Elyth is going to get stunned. So I place a counter on the stun marker. When Elyth goes to do something, he's going to fail that action, but then he removes his counter. Now after this, battle is over. The very last thing that we do is we go to number 4 here in your rulebook, and it's in red, and it's called the cleanup step. During cleanup, I check status effects on all pets. I don't have any. This also goes for the opponent as well. Pets in the rear line, which I do not have any pets in the rear line, nor does my opponent. They'll heal for 30 damage and remove 1 status. Once you're done processing all of these effects, then this turn is over, and you're going to go to the opponent's turn. Just so you know, when your turn passes and the opponent's turn passes and it comes back to you, this is called a round in the game. And that'll be the end of our turn guide section.